Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has formally announced this morning he will seek re-election in 2024, imploring voters to let him finish the job he started. This essentially kicks off the campaign against the Republican field, dominated by his predecessor, Donald Trump. Biden, already the oldest person ever elected as U.S. president. If re-elected, he'd be 86 at the end of his second term. Age discussions aside, there's obviously the question of the economy, which has been cooling. Inflation worries still front and center. Greg Valliere is chief U.S. policy strategist at AGF, and he joins us with his reaction to the news. Greg, good morning to you. I guess this is probably not a surprise.
No, the only slight surprise was the timing at 6 a.m. They released it. And being a cynic, John, I think that they're always worried when President Biden is live, extemporaneous. He makes a lot of gaffes. So this way, having a tape, they could control the message very firmly.
They did a video announcement of this, and I mentioned the economy and this sort of challenging time that we're navigating through. How do you think, now that we're sort of officially into the presidential race here, how do you think the economy is going to be factoring into it in the months ahead?
I think it's huge. I mean, that and age. But on the economy, I think a lot of people who follow it for a living, like all of us, feel the U.S. economy is okay, not great. Inflation is still stubborn. But most Americans have a much, much more critical view of the economy, thinking that inflation is still rampant, worried about their own future. So I think this is going to be a real albatross for President Biden.
We referenced on the age front. I mean, if Biden were reelected at the end of his second term, I believe he'd be 86 years old. But I know when you look at the landscape right now, because we're looking at the Republican field, but also looking at the Democratic field, and let's be clear, there are other people who would like to be taking that job. Yeah. How do you feel about the prospects for any of the other potentials?
There are a couple who might be possibilities, long shots, but it's awfully hard to say that DeSantis is going to be the nominee. It sure looks like a Trump-Biden race. As I've been saying all day, the clear winner, if it's a Trump-Biden race, is none of the above. I don't think anybody is going to be real excited about that.
For what reason?
Well, I think a big part of it is age, John. I think that a lot of people worry, as you mentioned, if he served a second term, he'd be leaving the White House at the age of 86. That's unprecedented. One other really interesting angle is Kamala Harris. I think that today, with her prominence in this video, it's quite clear she will be the running mate. She's not going to get dumped. There had been speculation about that, but she plays a bigger and bigger role because if there were a health problem for Joe Biden, the focus on her would be intense.
Now, in the short term, do you think there's going to be more market buzz around polling numbers tied to, this long road to 2024? Or is it going to be things like the debt ceiling? Our last guest, Brian Battle, was just talking about sort of the mounting commentary around that concerning issue.
The debt ceiling is, in my opinion, underrated as a big, big issue for the markets. They're nowhere close to a deal. Maybe the House in the next week or two could come up with something, but the Senate wouldn't agree. And if the Senate did agree, Biden would veto it. So it sure doesn't seem to me as if we're close to a deal. It would be probably well into June before a compromise is likely. And to complicate matters, it appears that receipts coming into the federal government have been disappointing. So this timetable might actually get pushed up a little bit.
And just before I let you go, for a Canadian audience as well, it's been interesting. There's this fairly close relationship between the Biden administration and the Trudeau government, and you joined us as we watched the president's trip to Ottawa recently. But you do have a number of issues where tensions are bubbling up, particularly on the trade front and this sort of desire to win new business, like electric vehicle contracts. And even the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, recently during that week with all the IMF activity in Washington, kind of talked about the desire to avoid getting into a really deep trade battle particularly with the U.S., over these subsidies. What do you think is going to happen on that front?
Two things, John. Number one, yes, I do think trade disputes will increase. But the other issue to me is this issue of Canada not contributing 2% of its GDP for NATO. That's a sore spot. And if Donald Trump should win, I'm not saying he will, but if he should win, I think he would make that a very, very controversial issue between our two countries.